It is Sunday, the 15th of May, 2022. We're looking at the partially eclipsed flower moon. And at the moment, being off in the lower left side of the frame, it's a little washed out on the right side. We're seeing some detail where the outer part of the shadow is. And as it moves towards the center of the frame, the exposure will adjust so we see more detail in the surface of the moon. And then as it moves out of the frame on the upper right, we will again sort of get a different exposure. I don't know quite why the exposure is changing, because I do have it in manual mode. I would have expected it to remain the same. I might accidentally be in auto ISO mode. I'll have to check that. But I don't think I was. I'm pretty sure it was at the base ISO, which is 160. So it's a 400mm Nikon Nikkor ED-IF lens, ED for extra low dispersion glass, IF for internal focus. A manual focus lens from the late 1970s, early 1980s that I bought some years ago at a very good price. I've had it for quite a while, and I do like attaching the Nikon 1J5 to it, because it turns it into the equivalent of over 1,000mm lens on full frame camera. So if I put a full frame camera behind the lens, the moon would be quite a bit smaller. So we'll stick with what we got here. This is a nice size of the moon, about almost half the horizontal frame, and maybe a third of the a third of the horizontal frame in terms of the camera in landscape mode, and half of the vertical in landscape mode. So the shadows, about a third of the way across the surface of the moon. Maybe not quite a third of the way yet, but definitely progressing minute by minute. And it's really, it looks like the shadow is creeping up on the moon, but it's more the moon sort of falling into the shadow of the Earth in real terms. But it's perhaps not obvious from a Earth stationary position. So as we can see, we're starting to see the halo, the haze. I'm very happy that the skies are not totally clouded over. It was very overcast for a good chunk of the day. I was afraid we weren't going to see anything, so I'm very happy that we're seeing what we are seeing. And I kind of like what's happening here, where the exposure's changing, and we're seeing maybe even a bit of detail in the shadow. And yeah, it's not halfway across, but it's a good way across the surface of the moon. We've been recording for 4 minutes since we began this clip. We do have earlier clips, and I think I'm gonna let it keep running. I really like, again, what we're seeing here with the halo, and we can see the cloud going by. The surface of the bright part of the moon is now totally washed out. I can see it with the unaided eye. Like with the unaided eye, I see the Mary and everything, but unfortunately the camera can't catch it. But we are seeing, I think, some detail in the actual shadow, which I actually can't see with the eye. It's basically black, so I guess it's a trade-off. Anyway, I'm going to adjust the angle here, bring it back to the left, and raise the lens a bit. It's probably going to jerk a bit, but yeah, so I guess we'll leave it at that. I could move it. I see we got some vibration going on here, but yeah, we seem to be okay. So I didn't move it off to the left as much as I would have liked, but I didn't want to mess it around too much. And we'll let it again rise through the frame. Here we do see the Maria on the surface of the moon. The shadow's quite dark. And I'm just debating if I should adjust the position of the camera lens a bit. I think I'll let it run a bit more until the moon is sort of centered in the middle of the frame. And at that point, or maybe a little bit past that, I think I will readjust, because it's getting up near the top and it's not even halfway across the frame. I want to keep it in the sweet spot for the image quality, which is in the middle. And yeah, so we're going to adjust again. A little to the left, and we can see the exposure changing there. Again, I don't know why, because it shouldn't really, being in manual mode and everything, should stay the same, but for some reason it isn't. I guess I can move it a bit further to the left. So yeah. Again, we're seeing a little bit of detail in the shadow. We see a bit of the penumbra there. See a little bit of the halo around the moon, and as it comes towards the center of the frame, we are starting to see more detail on the surface of the moon. And we're at 7 minutes and 20 some odd seconds, and I think I'm going to go back to stills soon. Yeah, I think I'm going to switch back to stills very soon.